Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to have been invited here today by Phil and all colleagues at Wired Sussex. This is a comedy venue, so I'm going to try to give you, some laughs, but I've got very difficult material to work with. So my speech is called The Creative and Digital Tech Industries, Key Statistics, Skills, Needs and Solutions. I try and get out of my office as much as possible, because when you do research, you tend to kind of be locked to your screen and people just look at you as a kind of geek-type character. But I do like to go out and speak and learn from other people as well and share some of the research that we've been doing, because I think we always need that sense check from industry to kind of really bring our research alive. I've just become a father, so 5th of February, my daughter was born. It's been a whirlwind of diapers and sleep deprivation, projectile vomiting, and that's just been the mother-in-law's visit. So what I really wanted to do today is cover quite a lot of research, and there's lots of stats that I'm going to quote and kind of fire at you, so hopefully this presentation will be made available to you as well, so don't feel like you need to jot everything down that I say. I've got some papers here with me as well, because I'm probably going to have to double-check some of the stats myself, because this is being filmed, so I don't want to be quoted as giving incorrect information today. Can I just quickly ask, how many of you here have heard of Creative Skillset before? Can you just put your hands up? Okay, so just under half. That's good, because now I can tell you about Creative Skillset, so the ones who don't know about us hopefully will find out a bit more. We tend to try and empower the creative industries, develop skills and talent, and really the way we do this is by influencing and shaping policy, ensuring quality, so things like our TIC accreditation, which is an accreditation system of undergraduate and postgraduate degrees, and also by securing vital investment for individuals to become the best in their field and for businesses to grow. And I'll kind of touch on some of the things that we actually do, but I really want to focus more broadly at the research findings and challenges that we have in the creative, digital and tech industries. We work across a number of different creative industries: film, television, radio, fashion, animation, games, visual effects, textiles, publishing, advertising, and marketing communications. And obviously, the digital and tech industries cut across a lot of these creative sectors. Now, firstly, I wanted to talk about the importance of the creative and cultural industries. First thing to know, 2.62 million people employed. And this is very relevant because in 2013, Creative Skillset did some research with Nesta, DCMS, and Creative and Cultural Skills, looking at how we define the creative industries. Now, we tend to use standard industrial classifications and standard occupational classification codes. And for the creative industries, they tend to be out of date because these things are revised every 10 years. So, for example, the last SIC revision was 2007, and the SOC code revision was 2010. The next one will be in 10 years' time. So obviously the creative industries and digital industries as well, very fast moving, lots of new jobs emerging, lots of new occupations. So the official data tends to lag behind. So obviously getting a definition and estimates of the industry and the growth of industry is quite challenging. But one of the key things that came out of the research that we conducted was a better way of measuring creativity across the UK economy in whatever form it might take. Under the old definition, we would have had 1.6 million employed, but obviously much bigger increase there. And that's just because we're capturing more creative occupations. 1.71 million of those are employed in the creative and non-creative employment within the creative industries themselves. So that could be a finance person working in a TV company, for example. 907,000 are actually employed in non-creative industries. So that could be someone working in advertising within a bank, for example. So that's called the trident. So there's 3 different ways to measure creative employment across the UK economy. Nearly 77 billion GVA contribution, or 5% of total UK GVA. And in terms of the proportion numbers of people involved and the GVA contribution, it's a significant contribution there. 8.8% of exports, or 17 billion. And one of the key things of the creative industries as a whole, and the digital and technology industries as well, is exceptional growth. So between 2008 and 2013, nearly 26% growth, which is the fastest growing kind of sectors of any others. And that kind of works in a double-edged way as well. When there's a recession, the creative industries tend to contract as well quite quickly. And it's actually quite interesting because some of these statistics have improved a lot, especially in 2013 and 14, as we've moved away from the recession. So I had quite an interesting meeting once with my CEO when I presented some graphs, and she was talking about the growth potential of the industries, and the graph was basically going down because of the recession. So that was quite interesting because she assumed that everything was still growing at the rate it was before. But actually, growth is continuing and returning. Now, I wanted to talk about the digital tech industry quickly, and it cuts across a number of the creative industries. 1.46 million employed in 47,200 companies. Again, this will vary depending on the definitions people use to measure the industries. And I've taken this from the Tech City, Tech Nation report called Powering the Digital Economy, which was published in 2015. So these are the latest figures, and I think it's a very good report. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it, have a look. It's really interesting. 251,000 employed in inner London, so the largest group of employment. 62,000 employed here in Brighton, which has the highest concentration of digital companies anywhere in the UK. 50% of companies formed since 2008, so a huge amount of entrepreneurial activity, lots of new companies emerging, but also a lot of traditional organisations are actually getting more into the digital arena as well. So it's quite interesting, lots of new companies and lots of more traditional established companies bringing in more digital and technology into their organisation. 53 billion contribution to GVA, and again this could vary depending on what source you look at. 5.4% growth in employment by 2020. I think this is quite a conservative estimate, but again, it goes back to the nature of the industries themselves and how they evolve. New occupations keep emerging, and it's very hard for data to track that constant evolution. So common types of digital tech companies: software development, advertising and marketing, media and entertainment, and this is not ranked in any particular order. These are the common types of companies that we see. E-commerce, web design and technical, games development and publishing, and data management and analytics. And this is quite an important one. Big data is a huge issue. We've just done some research with Nesta, which will be published hopefully in the next 2 months, looking at analytics and what that means. We're finding more and more companies are looking for people who not only understand statistics or maths, etc., but can also tell stories about the data and can bring the data alive. And that's becoming much more of an emphasis, and lots of skills gaps and shortages in the whole area of data analytics at the moment. Now, what I wanted to talk about as well is something that's really important to Creative Skillset as an organisation, because we represent the creative industries as a whole. And I just wanted to talk about the diversity challenge. And I know there's some talks later on today which cover the kind of issue of diversity and how to increase diversity. It's not really just a moral, ethical thing. There's actually more and more research which supports the view that the more diverse your workforce is, the quicker your organisation actually grows. And this table here just shows you the challenge that we face in the creative industries. This is based on 2012 data, mixture of different sources because, as I said, the creative industries aren't well defined in official statistics, so sometimes we have to do bespoke research to kind of group them in the ways we understand and recognise. So, for example, TV, VFX, film, games, advertising. We've got a category here called Other, which includes interactive media, quite a lot of digital technology firms in there, fashion and textiles, publishing. And what I've done in this chart is simply demonstrate using a traffic light system. Green means, the levels of women, BAME, and disabled in that sector are higher than the whole economy average. So in the whole economy, the whole UK economy, 46% women, 10% BAME, and 15% disabled. So anything above that is green. Anything slightly below that I've put in yellow, and anything drastically below that measure is in red. So you can see a lot of red categories there in VFX, Other, which includes interactive media, games as well. So lots of work needs to be done to improve diversity just to reach the national average level for the UK workforce as a whole. So a huge challenge. And not only is it not at levels it should be, it's also declining as well, which is another issue. Now I wanted to talk about higher education, and you'll see what I'm talking about this when I go back to the diversity issue. At the moment, we have 2.5 million full-time equivalent students. That was in 2011-12, and we're just about to publish some new research in that area. 250,000 of those, roughly, nearly 10%, studying creative skill set relevant courses. So this includes creative and digital courses. 89% of creative skill set relevant students are studying full-time, which compares to 69% for all students across higher education. Now, one of the key things that we found as well is that creative skill set relevant students tend to be younger, so 48% between the ages of 18 to 20, and conversely, only 11% are over the age of 30 compared to 26% for all students in HE. So that's just a very quick snapshot of the HE kind of student body. Now, the relevance of that was because I wanted to talk about student diversity as well. So we saw the table which showed the traffic light system for the diversity within key creative industry sectors. But what we see here in the student body is actually it's very diverse. So again, using the whole economy figures, 46% and 10%, we can see really games where there's only 29% of female, and the facilities, 33% from women. Everything else is quite diverse. I know that the graduate degrees aren't the only routes into the creative industries. There's apprenticeships, internships. People can come from other industries as well. So there's different ways that you can enter the creative industries as a whole. But I think this demonstrates the issue that the student body is quite diverse, but for some reason that's not really translating into employment. Now, this is another graph that shows you graduate destination. So this is employment. A creative skill set, we accredit certain degrees, and this includes creative and digital degrees as well. And we look at employment and unemployment rates. So basically, the blue chart line shows you TIC accredited employment figures. Red is all creative industries, so non-TIC accredited degrees. And green is the whole graduate population. So here we can see students that do TIC accredited courses, 90% go into employment, and quite a significant proportion of that actually go into jobs relevant to the degree that they took, compared to 76% for non-TIC accredited degrees across the creative industries as a whole, and 87%, this includes finance, banking, etc., all other types of graduates. So we're really proud of that. That shows that we're actually developing degrees that employers want. 7% go into study compared to 10% for all creative industries, and the unemployment rate is also lower at 2%. For graduates as a whole, it's 4%, and the creative industries as a whole, 9%. So again, higher employment rate, lower unemployment rate. Now, this is the question of contacts. The other thing that we look at is how do graduates get their jobs within the creative industries. The most common form of them getting jobs is 20% get jobs through personal contacts, including family and friends. Now, again, this is linked back to the question of diversity. Obviously, that's fine. That shows that you're using your networking skills and you're taking advantage of people you know in the industry. But likewise, it can also be a barrier to diversity as well. So why address diversity? Well, looking at a short survey that we did with our panel members, this was 260 digital and tech companies, recruitment in the digital industries tends to be through recruitment by recommendation or word of mouth. Now, this can be understandable if it's a fast-moving business and you tend to want to get people who can do the job. 40% in the digital sector use internal peer recommendation. But again, going back to the point about diversity and barriers, it's not helping make the workforce more diverse. And again, there's loads of research that's showing the more diverse your workforce, the more ideas you have, different perspectives you bring to the business, and the more successful the business will be in the long run. Now, I think we're going to cover this in another talk later on, but I wanted to talk about some strategies here that can help to develop and promote diversity. I think the key thing is to have a diversity strategy and something that's robust within the organisation. Another thing which is quite obvious, ensure all facilities, physical and online, are accessible. Again, thinking about any disabled people within the workforce as well. Identify, support and promote positive role models. Again, positive outreach programs of minority group partner organisations as well. And I went to a presentation a couple of years ago at BAFTA where we presented our latest census findings looking at the lack of diversity within the industries. And one of the key things that was said there, that is people don't know where to go to find more, more diverse workforce. And there are organisations out there that you can tap into who have lots of people that they have access to and on their databases. So it's just making that effort to find those groups. Make flexible working available for all as a default. Again, this tends to come up in research. And learn from mistakes. A lot of organisations don't have exit interviews. They don't learn from anything that they've done. And this is important just for organisational learning and moving forward. So try to kind of understand why people might leave, or you may not be attracting diverse people. And a lot of it could just be simple things of where adverts are placed and just stuff that's very obvious, but not until you actually do a bit of research on it. Now, I wanted to talk about this very briefly because you can look at the Creative Skillset website, but one of the ways that we support is through our diversity fund. Now, this is grants of up to $1,600 to spend on training and short courses to individuals who belong to underrepresented groups, open to all people within the creative, digital and tech industries. And we have something called Trainee Finder, which gives you quick and easy access to an online database housing some of the UK's top trainees for your projects. So again, another facility we have there to support companies looking for diverse talent. And we've recently launched something called Hive, which is a new professional network for creative people. We've got 10,000 members at the moment and 1,000 companies. So again, please sign up to Hive, get your company profile on there, and that should allow you to connect with other groups and other people. I mean, the creative industries we know are very clustered in certain city regions. And in economic theory, you tend to see a contradiction between collaboration and competition, where in economic theory, the more competition goes up, the more efficient firms get, etc. But I'd say that there's growing evidence to actually contradict that. The more you actually collaborate and the more you work with others in the cluster, the more everyone benefits. So it's slightly shifting, and I think the creative industries are a very good example of that. Now, getting down to the nitty-gritty, digital skills gaps. These are common gaps that we find through research we do. We have a panel of digital and tech companies that respond to our surveys, and we also do research which informs our skills investment fund. So we try to channel investment where it's needed the most. So things like Crytek, Source, Unity, Android, iPhone, these are quite specific ones. Coders and developers constantly comes up. User experience design, designers, 3D Equalizer, 3ds, Mac, Houdini, V-Ray, a lot of technical ones constantly coming up. C++, Python. And as well as the specific digital skills we constantly get told about, we also get told a lot about generic skills gaps as well. So things like working in a team, working to deadlines, planning and project management, understanding the industry, communication, sales, business development, understanding the pipeline, client expertise, management and leadership, and finance. And one of the things that I've missed off here is Fusion, which is not because it's not important, but it's almost a catch-all of all of these. So Fusion is really about creative entrepreneur and business skills brought together in a holistic way. And Brighton Fuse have done plenty of research in that area, most recently looking at freelancers in Brighton. But the evidence shows that the more superfused, if you like, as they call it, your workforce is, the more diverse, the more correlation there is to growth. So a huge range of direct skills, and things like cybersecurity we're constantly hearing about recently as well. And we tend to do very bespoke research. Some of this, unfortunately, we don't publish because it informs some of our investment strategies. But if people are interested, then I can make certain things available. And this goes back to how we can help. We have the Skills Investment Fund, which is there for high-end TV, animation, VFX, computer games. We gather in evidence from industry of skills gaps and shortages, and we use that to make strategic investment decisions. And it's open to all types of companies across the creative digital industries. But again, we do try and link that to skills gaps and shortages. And we have something called skills flashes that are available on our website, and it shows the top priorities we have for funding at the moment. And that's just a bit more information about the schemes we have. So really, it's all about boosting skills. And I think the other challenge we have is also not just about skills gaps and shortages, but also the growth in the actual industries themselves. So it's not just about not having enough people at the moment, it's also not having enough in the future. And again, this goes back to the debate between science, technology, engineering, maths, and art. We're seeing that more and more graduates are needed who have mathematical and statistical skills to be able to do the jobs in the creative and digital economy. Now, there's a range of other activities that we do in partnership with people like yourselves that will help address the skills challenge. So one of the things we try and do is include soft skills in apprenticeships and longer courses. As I mentioned, there's lots of soft skills come up. We've got a creative digital media apprenticeship. Only about 700 or 800 people per year do that. So we really want to increase that. But it's been tested with industry, and we know it provides the skills that industry say they need. So again, we would like you to be aware of that and to support us with that. We like to work with industry to continue to lobby government. So the Skills Investment Fund is funded through the DCMS, and it's just been funded for a further 2 years as well. And we try and work with industry to identify skills gaps and shortages. For example, in VFX, there's 17 occupations in skill shortage, so we have to bring people from abroad in to fill those gaps. Obviously, longer term, we would like to build that talent base within the UK. So we need support to lobby government for further funding. We try to promote industry through social media and online campaigns, produce content and materials to promote industry awareness, develop partnerships with industry, schools and career organisations. A lot of the skills gaps and shortages can't just be addressed in higher education. We have to look back at schools and careers, at schools and further education as well, so it's much further back. And I did some research a few years ago looking at higher education lecturers. We actually have a shortage of physics and maths lecturers in the UK. So lots of lecturers come from overseas. So if we've got lack of lecturers in universities, and obviously we're going to have that shortage within graduates and also at school level. And computer science now is within GCSE subjects. Identify, support and promote pioneers and champions. Promote students and new entrants work. Again, this is through something we have called Hive. We're running a number of competitions through Hive to encourage people to join the creative industries and to get a foothold in there, and to link up with people who know more about the industries. There's facilities to do Q&A sessions with experts in the industry who may answer some quick key questions people have. And participate in high-profile events, conferences, trade shows, and panels as well. Again, it's about getting the message out there. A lot of our research has kind of been hidden a bit in the past, and my aim and my team's aim is really to get our research out there and to benefit industry so people are aware of what the skills gaps and shortages are. Now, finally, before we have the opportunity for some questions, I just wanted to talk about a major survey that we've done that's going to be out in the next month. This is the largest skills and training survey of the creative workforce. We've had 7,500 people respond to this survey, so we're very confident in the data. Covers career development and future plans, so it looks at educational background, qualifications gained, degrees studied, work experience, entry in and out the creative industries, careers, barriers, and we also cover socioeconomic class as well, which is another key thing. How does class influence your career in the creative industries? And there's a main report and sector reports as well, and we have a specific report on the digital industry as well. And that will be published in April 2015, so next month. So please do check that out. And that's my presentation. There's hopefully some time for questions.